Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring something pretty fundamental to how we all live and work. Productivity and focus.
Yeah, but we're coming at it from maybe a fresher angle, one that pushes back against that constant pressure to just do more.
Exactly. We've been digging into excerpts from a book, Manage Your Mind, Not Your Time.
Right, and it presents this really insightful perspective. It feels, much more human than the usual sort of rigid approaches you see everywhere.
That really nails it.
Yeah.
That's the heart of it, isn't it? The main idea here isn't about trying to strictly schedule every single minute.
No, it's much more about understanding and, importantly, working with your own internal landscape. Your mental energy, your natural rhythms.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack why trying to just force productivity often leaves us feeling, frankly, drained.
And explore this alternative, this more intuitive way that actually respects how your mind operates. So yeah, let's get into the material.
Okay, so this whole perspective kicks off by questioning traditional time management. The kind that's obsessed with filling up calendars. It feels like it's maybe missing the point.
Well, yeah, the source points out something so simple but profound. Time is fixed. A minute is always a minute.
Right, today, tomorrow doesn't change.
But our minds, our internal state, that's anything but fixed. It's incredibly dynamic. And that's where the author, David Kadavy, really makes his case. He uses this great metaphor. Imagine trying to make flowers grow faster by just yelling at them.
Right, or checking them constantly.
Exactly. You can give them perfect conditions, water, sun, but they bloom on their own schedule, their own rhythm. Our minds are kind of the same. You can't just demand peak creativity or deep focus whenever you want.
That makes so much sense when you put it like that. You can't just strong-arm nature, and you can't really strong-arm your own mind either.
So Kadavy's core teaching really cuts through it. Stop trying to manage the clock. Start managing yourself, your internal state.
And think about when we do chase that traditional time management. The packed schedules, the constant alarms, the apps always nudging you. The material points out it often just leaves us feeling, empty.
Yeah, because the focus is purely on doing more, right? The sheer quantity. It doesn't consider the quality of your presence or even how you feel while you're doing it.
Oh, I feel that. I really do. It reminds me of that marathon analogy they used.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't even attempt a marathon if you woke up with, say, a fever. Your body just says, nope.
Right. Obvious.
Yet, we constantly expect our minds to perform these really complex, demanding tasks, even when we're feeling mentally drained or distracted or just not in the right headspace at all.
Your mental energy, that's the real currency here. That's your most valuable resource for productive work, especially the kind that needs creativity or deep thinking.
It's not just about the hours logged.
Not at all. The source even shared this personal story about spending 8 hours on something with almost zero results to show for it.
Oh, wow. We've all been there.
Compared to just one really focused hour that produced something powerful. It just highlights the difference so clearly.
It's that feeling, isn't it? Spinning your wheels versus actually making progress. So a big takeaway seems to be the importance of just, noticing. Noticing your own energy rhythms.
Exactly. Pay attention. When during the day do you naturally feel most creative? Or when are you best at tackling complex problems?
And just as importantly, when do you feel that pull towards needing a break, needing rest?
Right. The source suggests a really practical starting point. Just for a week, try jotting down these observations. When you feel sharp, when you feel foggy, when you feel creative.
See what patterns emerge for you.
You'll likely start to see patterns that are unique to you. Yeah.
And that shift in thinking from just trying to fill time with tasks, like any old tasks, to thinking about creating something meaningful that feels huge.
It is. Brian Tracy's famous quote about single-minded concentration. It's classic advice.
Sure, focus is key.
But the source adds this critical twist. That intense concentration only really works, it's only even possible, if you are mentally ready for that specific task in that moment.
Okay. So trying to force it when you're not ready.
It's like trying to paint something intricate or write, sensitive poetry while you're standing in the middle of a noisy, chaotic fairground.
And not gonna happen.
It's not about your effort, right? It's the total mismatch between your internal state and what the task demands.
So the question changes completely. It's not the widget, okay, what should I be doing at 10 a.m.?
No. It becomes more like, okay, given my energy and my mental state right now at 10 a.m., what's the most effective way I could use this time? It reframes your whole approach to planning.
It really does.
And the source uses this lovely image. Embrace the cloud, not the clock. Think of your mind like the sky.
Okay.
Sometimes it's clear, sunny maybe. Maybe that's great for analytical thinking or planning. Other times it's a bit cloudy, perhaps better for routine tasks, processing info.
And sometimes?
Sometimes there's a storm brewing. And that's a clear signal that maybe rest, actual rest, is the most productive thing you can possibly do right then.
Learning to read your own inner weather report, essentially.
Exactly. Matching tasks to that inner weather, it's fundamental.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap this first part. The real engine isn't time, it's your mental state.
Right.
Creativity and deep work need rhythm, not just constant pressure.
Yeah.
Your energy is the key asset, way more than just checking off boxes on a schedule.
Absolutely.
And the goal shifts to creating the right conditions for meaningful work, not just cramming your schedule full. This really sets us up nicely for the next big idea.
Which is this concept I found really fascinating in the material. Unlocking what the author calls your passive genius.
Passive genius. Okay, tell me more.
It's this recognition that your mind is actually incredibly active, doing important work, even when you're not consciously, grinding away at a problem.
That feels almost countercultural, doesn't it, in our world of constant hustle?
It really does. There's a great little story in there that illustrates it perfectly. A baker keeps opening the oven door every few minutes, checking on the cake.
Oh no, letting all the heat out.
Exactly. And of course, the cake never rises properly. So a wise neighbor just tells them, sometimes the best thing you can possibly do is absolutely nothing.
Doing nothing. That feels almost rebellious. We're so conditioned to think we have to be on every second.
But this passive genius, your subconscious mind, it's busy making connections in the background, sorting information, finding solutions without you forcing it.
Yeah.
It just needs the space and, frankly, the quiet to do its thing.
Right, like when you're totally stuck on a problem.
Yeah.
You walk away, maybe go for a walk, take a shower, sleep on it.
And bam, suddenly the answer just pops into your head, seemingly out of nowhere.
That's it. That's the subconscious processing kicking in when you finally stop trying to force it.
And there's actually a scientific name for this brain state, isn't there? The default mode network?
That's the one. It's like your brain's internal operating system when you're not focused on something external. It's busy organizing, consolidating memory.
And making those creative leaps behind the scenes. Yeah.
So a key practical tip from the source here is to actually deliberately build downtime into your day.
And the author is serious. Like, literally schedule nothing.
Nothing. My calendar app is going to have a meltdown.
I know, it sounds completely contradictory, but this isn't about being lazy. It's deeply productive, just in a different way.
Okay, so what does this productive nothing look like?
Well, the source outlines 3 types of rest that are really good at activating this passive genius. First, there's physical rest, pretty obvious, like getting enough sleep, maybe some deep breathing exercises.
Got it.
Then there's mental rest. This is the interesting one. Simple things like just staring out a window, taking a slow, aimless walk, or even just letting your mind wander, daydreaming.
Okay, less obvious, but makes sense.
Yeah.
And the third?
Creative rest. This is about engaging with inspiring input that isn't directly related to your work. Things like reading fiction, listening to music you love, visiting a museum or art gallery.
Ah, so it's feeding your mind in a different way.
Exactly. These are all crucial inputs and processing states for your mind to do its background work.
It totally reframes rest, doesn't it? It's not just the absence of productivity, it's a different kind of productive state.
Precisely. It reminds me of that great line from Khadeivi in the source. Creativity is not a switch, it's a wave. Catch it, don't chase it.
Ooh, I like that. You can't just flip it on, but you can be ready when the wave comes in.
Exactly. And the deep lake metaphor they use is perfect too. If you're constantly stirring up the water, your thoughts, your to-do list, it just stays muddy and you can't see clearly.
But if you let it settle.
Through rest, through that downtime, clarity emerges. Deeper insights can actually surface.
Okay, but let's be real.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things stirring up that lake nowadays is technology. The constant pings, the notifications.
Oh, absolutely. They are literally designed to grab your attention, to pull you away from whatever you're doing.
And the cost is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
I read somewhere it takes ages to get back into focus after an interruption.
Yeah, the research cited suggests around 23 minutes on average to fully regain deep focus after you've been interrupted. Think about that. If you're getting pinged every few minutes,
You're basically never getting into that deep state
No.
at all, just constantly restarting. Wow.
it's a massive drain on your mental energy.
So, simple actions, things that almost feel too basic, suddenly become incredibly important.
Like what?
Like turning off notifications you don't absolutely need. using do not disturb mode strategically, maybe even, physically putting your phone in another room when you need to really focus.
You have to actively guard your concentration. The source uses this image of your focus being like a candle flame.
Okay.
It needs shelter from the wind of distractions to burn brightly, and technology, unchecked, is often that wind just blowing it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it's not just about blocking the bad stuff, right? It's also about inviting the good stuff, the inspiration.
Exactly. The source talks about setting up creative triggers.
Creative triggers? Like what?
Things that create conditions where ideas are just more likely to pop up naturally instead of you trying to wrestle them out.
Give me some examples.
Okay, simple stuff. Always carrying a small notebook or using a notes app to capture those fleeting thoughts. Taking long walks, but specifically without your phone buzzing in your pocket.
Unplugged walks.
Yeah, or maybe keeping a specific question you're pondering in mind right before you drift off to sleep. Or listening to instrumental or ambient music to just create some mental space.
It reminds me of stories like Einstein playing his violin when he was stuck on physics problems.
Exactly. Or Tony Robbins saying motion creates emotion. Sometimes just moving your body can spark ideas. It's about letting your mind kind of move and dance in different ways to invite inspiration.
I like that, letting your mind dance.
And there's this bold experiment suggested in the source, the empty calendar day.
Empty calendar. Sounds
A
terrifying.
little. But the idea is dedicate a block of time, maybe 4 hours once a week, where you schedule absolutely nothing structured. Just silence, maybe a walk, reading for pleasure, daydreaming.
And just see what happens.
Yeah. It might feel weird or unproductive at first, but the insight is when you intentionally create that void, your best ideas, your passive genius, will often start to fill it.
Because your brain is like that window, as the source put it. Don't keep blocking it with constant busy work.
Let yourself look out. Let the light and the ideas come in.
Okay, so quick summary for this part. Trust your subconscious. Recognize the power of that passive genius. Prioritize rest, mental creative rest, not as a luxury, but as essential.
Definitely.
Take deliberate control of your tech to shield your focus.
Crucial.
And actively invite inspiration using conditions and triggers. It's about getting more meaningful work done, often by just giving your mind the space it needs.
Exactly. Letting it breathe and connect the dots on its own time.
Okay, so we've talked about why old school time management falls short and how our subconscious needs space. So how do we actually use this day to day? This brings us to the third key idea: matching your tasks to your current mental state.
Right. This is where it all kind of comes together into a practical framework you can actually use. The big idea here is that your different mental states, the source identifies 4 main ones: creative, logical, routine, and rest.
Creative, logical, routine, rest. Got it.
These are like different tools in your toolbox, and each one is best suited for a specific kind of job.
Okay, makes sense.
Trying to use the wrong mental state for a task, it's just incredibly inefficient and frustrating, like trying to, hammer in a screw or push a car uphill stuck in the wrong gear.
Yeah, you just grind away and get nowhere fast.
Yeah.
So Kadebi's insight is we need to first become aware of these natural modes our minds cycle through.
Exactly right. So, step 1 is simply that. Start identifying your mental state at different times. Just pay attention. Do you usually feel buzzy, full of ideas first thing? That could be your peak creative mode.
Or maybe your analytical brain switches on better after lunch.
Could be. That sounds like logical mode. Or maybe you find clearing out emails or doing simple admin tasks feels easiest towards the end of the day.
That'd be routine mode.
Precisely. And the source gives this great pro tip. Your natural rhythm, the one unique to you, is way more important than some generic clock time telling you when you should be creative.
So tracking this for a little while can reveal your personal patterns.
Absolutely. And once you have a better sense of your typical states, step 2 is the crucial move. Intentionally match the task to the state that's best equipped for it.
Okay, give me examples.
Sure. Creative mode is obviously great for brainstorming, writing first drafts, big picture strategic planning, design work, that kind of thing.
Right.
Logical mode. Perfect for editing, detailed problem solving, analyzing data, organizing complex stuff. Routine mode is for those necessary but less demanding tasks, handling email, admin, basic data entry, tidying up.
And rest mode.
That's for recovery, recharging, and crucially, allowing that passive genius we talked about to work its magic.
Trying to force yourself to write, say, a really creative marketing plan when your brain feels like it's firmly stuck in routine mode.
It feels like trying to play the guitar wearing oven mitts. It's just awkward, ineffective, and honestly pretty discouraging.
Yeah, you feel like you're failing, but maybe it's just the wrong time for that task.
Exactly. It feels fundamentally wrong, and the quality of whatever you produce usually suffers too. Which leads nicely into step 3. Build a flexible flow, not a rigid, breakable routine.
Flexible flow. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, the material is really clear on this. You're not a robot. Your energy, your mood, your focus, it's going to fluctuate day by day, even hour by hour sometimes.
So instead of seeing your day like a fixed grid of time slots,
Think of it more like a river. Your energy is the current. Learn to guide your tasks downstream with the current when it's flowing in the right direction for that task.
instead of constantly trying to paddle upstream against it.
Exactly. The source mentions a structure like a 3-block day. Maybe you loosely plan blocks for focus work, creative, receivable, process work like editing or organizing things, and admin work, routine stuff.
But the key is the flexibility.
The flexibility is everything. If you wake up feeling super energized and inspired, great, maybe start with your focus block. But if you wake up feeling tired or scattered, maybe starting with some easy admin tasks is the smarter move that day.
Let your mind state lead the way and let the clock follow along.
You got it. There's that lovely story in the source about the 2 painters.
Remind.
One painter forces themselves to paint strictly 9 to 5 every single day. Their work is technically okay, but maybe a bit flat, lacking soul. The other painter, they only pick up their brush when they feel their soul is awake, when the inspiration is truly there. And their work, it's vibrant, full of life and depth.
It's about capturing that energy when it's actually present.
Precisely. And step 4 is all about reducing friction to make it easier to get into that flow state when the energy is right.
Reducing friction. How?
Small things can make a massive difference. Preparing your workspace and tools beforehand so you're ready to go. Making sure you have a quiet, focused environment when you need it. Having those creative triggers we talked about easily accessible.
It's like preparing the soil in your garden.
That's a perfect analogy from the source.
Yeah.
You can't control exactly when the rain inspiration will come, but you can make damn sure the ground is ready to absorb it and bloom when it does.
And just as important is knowing what not to do, right? What kills the flow.
Absolutely. Trying to force deep, creative work when you're mentally exhausted, constantly multitasking, especially during creative time, allowing those endless interruptions from emails and messages, these things actively sabotage your flow and focus.
It ties back to that Tony Robbins quote you mentioned earlier. Where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes. You have to protect that focus, align your energy with the task at hand. Treat your attention and your mental energy like the incredibly precious, finite resources they actually are.
Okay, so if we bring it all together, the material essentially leaves us with, what, 5 core truths?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's list them. 1. Your mental energy is your most valuable asset, more important than time itself.
2. Creativity and real focus need rhythm and space. They can't just be forced by pressure.
3. Your passive genius, that subconscious mind, is always working for you. Learn to trust it, give it space.
4. Align your tasks with your natural mental states. Don't just cram them into a rigid schedule. Work with your mind.
And 5, maybe the biggest one, design your workday, maybe even your life, around who you actually are and how your unique mind works best.
It's such a refreshing framework, isn't it? It puts our, humanness back into the whole productivity equation.
It really does. And it points towards work that feels more natural, definitely more effective, and ultimately probably more fulfilling too.
So wrapping this deep dive up, the fundamental shift we've been exploring is moving away from seeing productivity as just a game of scheduling and control.
Yeah, getting away from just managing the clock.
True productivity, from this perspective anyway, comes from developing this deep awareness of your own mind's landscape, its energy, its natural states, its need for downtime.
And then building your work life around that understanding rather than fighting it.
And the promise is, by honoring your mental energy, by matching your efforts to your state, you can often get more meaningful stuff done, maybe with less struggle.
Experience more of that elusive flow state, less of that friction that comes from constantly swimming against your own current.
It's a really powerful reframe. Instead of always asking, how can I possibly cram more into my day?
The question becomes something more like, okay, how can I use the unique energy and capacity I have right here, right now, in the most effective and wisest way possible?
And that feels much more empowering, doesn't it? It lets you build a day, maybe even a life, that genuinely supports your best thinking, your creativity, your well-being.
Instead of just trying to force yourself into some generic, exhausting mold of being busy.
So, maybe here's a final thought for you to ponder this week. What if you just took a few moments each day, consciously, to observe your own inner landscape?
Just notice, no judgment.
Right. Just notice when you feel most creative or most analytical or most ready for those routine tasks. Or, just as importantly, when you genuinely need to rest.
How might just paying attention to your own mental weather report, as we called it,
How might that reveal some hidden opportunities for better focus, maybe unexpected creativity, or even just giving yourself permission for some much-needed, truly productive rest?
listen to your mind. It often knows a lot more than the clock does.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into managing your mind, not just your time. We really hope it gives you a valuable new lens to look through.